Welcome to the Joe Monroe Show. Now, here's your host, Joe Monroe.
Hello, pro wrestling friends, family, and fans. How are you doing this fine Sunday evening? It is I, Joe Monroe, and today I'm coming out with another special episode where we discussed in a past live, which got taken down, thanks Facebook. We're going to discuss a couple of biographies and about the wrestlers that the biographies are about. And I have a very special guest with me tonight. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and shout out some sponsors and some friends here. First and always foremost, Phenomenal Funds ATL. If you're looking for anything retro, check out phenomenalfundsatl.com. They have anything from professional wrestling and basically anything you can think of retro-wise. Also, Triple Crown Wrestling and Ultimate Championship Wrestling, as they are bringing back professional wrestling to the great state of Kentucky, as it should be, as well as our partners and sponsors, Mayhem Media, where we just don't talk about professional wrestling. We talk about all forms of media entertainment, from sports, TV shows, films, etc. Go check them out, as well as our brand new friends, Charms Photos. Charms Photos is run by Crystal, who takes the lovely photos of wrestlers and all pro wrestling staff, and she does a phenomenal job, so go check her out. And Les Murphy Painting. If you have any issue with any painting needs, contact Les Murphy at 734-334-3702. And if y'all don't mind, go ahead and check out the No Cell Roundtable, where myself and a few other podcasters sit around and talk about professional wrestling, which I am proud to announce that the next episode will be coming out this Friday. And we are going to talk about what is our personal favorite and least favorite wrestling pay-per-view of all time. But we're not here to talk about pay-per-views today. We are or PLEs, whatever you want to call them. We are here to talk about biographies. So I didn't want to do this on my own. I kind of felt bad for the last episode he was on. And hopefully there's no interruptions this time around. Ladies and gentlemen, from across the pond, none other than the head of HR for Mayhem Media, the one and only Connor Clarkson. Connor, welcome back to the Joe Monroe Show.
Evening, Joe. Evening.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Yourself?
I'm doing a lot better than what I have been. Thank you for asking. Now, I'm happy you agreed to come onto the show to talk about wrestling biographies, because you yourself, like me, have been in the business for a while. You know professional wrestling in and out. So I couldn't think of anybody else to really do this with. So thank you so much for doing it. Let me go ahead and share this around real quick, and then we'll be good to go. So with that being said, Connor, what have you been up to, my friend?
Apart from the normal eat, sleep, and gym, pretty much nothing. That's literally all I do at the minute.
Wait, did you say eat, sleep, and gym, or eat, sleep, and gym?
Gym, where you lift weights and you look big.
There we go. Okay. I thought you said gym. I was like, well, I mean, good for you, buddy. That's nice, but all right, cool. But I'm kidding, buddy. I'm kidding. So the show is shared around. Thank you all for your love and support for the show. So let's go ahead and let's go into it. But before we get into my top 5 biographies of all time, I do have a couple of honorable mentions. First and foremost, Arn Anderson, Forever, a Look Behind the Curtain. It's Arn Anderson's book. It's Arn Anderson, for crying out loud. It's not that bad. It's only 163 pages, including like the introduction and table of contents and all that. If you haven't, go check it out, either at your local library or secondhand bookstores, Amazons, whatever. Another one that I personally like is The Stone Cold Truth, Stone Cold Steve Austin's book. It is a great book. It is, surprisingly, it's one that shocked me. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend reading The Stone Cold Truth. But let's go ahead and get into the top 5 books. Believe it or not, Connor, this one may shock you. This one shocked me whenever I first seen that this book existed. It's none other than about Brian Pillman, called "Crazy Like a Fox." It's a great book, great biography. If you're a Brian Pillman fan, this is the book to have right here. It's a great book. Brian Pillman, I think, is one of the most underrated professional wrestlers to ever have stepped foot in the squared circle. What's your thoughts on Brian Pillman, Connor?
I am definitely a fan of Brian. I know that much. He's definitely been one of my favorites for God knows how long now. It's been a long time. But no, I am definitely a fan of Brian Pillman.
All right. So yeah, it speaks about my favorite Brian Pillman is when he was Flying Brian Pillman and also part of the Hollywood Blondes. That's the Brian Pillman that I grew up with. And Crazy like a Fox goes into detail with that. So does Stone Cold's book. It goes into that. And it's such an underrated tag team with both of those men. Again, those probably underappreciated for their time. And they were literally just stuck together. And they're like, okay, well, if we're going to make it work, we're going to make it work. And it ended up working. Then they ended up, shooting it down as soon as possible. So I think that was so dumb on WCW's part. But speaking of WCW, another book I have here is Cheating Death and Stealing Life, the Eddie Guerrero story. If anyone is a big Eddie Guerrero fan, oh my goodness, man. This right here, one of the best books there is. I can't believe I still can't believe I found it in hardback. But Eddie Guerrero, one of the greatest wrestlers that ever lived. He's in my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, from when he wrestled in Mexico to where he wrestled in Japan to where he wrestled in ECW, WCW, then on to the WWE. Eddie Guerrero was probably a main stable of a small guy in a big pond. Then he ended up becoming the big fish later on in his career. I think I made some sense into that. I could be wrong. But yeah, this guy, phenomenal. Of course, you're a big Eddie Guerrero fan like I am. What's your thoughts on Eddie?
I mean, just think, how can you not be an Eddie fan? The shit he did in the ring, superb. He on the mic, there was definitely potential on the mic. He was pretty damn good on the mic. Like, I'm pretty sure if you ask any wrestling fan up and down this world, I'm pretty sure they will say that Eddie Guerrero is in their top 5.
Oh yeah. So he's definitely in your top 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's someone that I could not have left just one book of his. I have 2 books, but we're going to go with his second book first. We're going to go with Foley is Good, Mick Foley's second book he came out with. Have you read this one?
I don't do that. I'm not going to lie. I don't do that much reading, but I am aimless.
What do
you mean that doesn't surprise you?
I said what I said. It doesn't surprise me. But yeah, this talks about Foley's career after the events of his first book, which we'll talk about here in just a moment. This right here is when he took over like commissioner roles and all that. And Mick Foley's just a phenomenal writer. He's got plenty of books out there. He's a New York bestseller, 3-time WWE champion. Not only that, great commissioner. I think he was a phenomenal commissioner. I love the Commissioner Foley thing he did at the later on with the Attitude Era, when it was kind of coming to a close. And yeah, that's what it talks about. Foley is Good is one of my favorite books. And the real world is faker than wrestling, which I can agree with. But what's going on with Mick Foley? It's called Mankind Have a Nice Day. This book, believe it or not, this was the very first book I ever read. Very first one. Very first book I ever read regarding professional wrestling was this one. And the reason why I seen that in the back, I'm like, oh, he's had that many injuries. Okay, cool. But this book, it talks about his life growing up. It talks about his time in Japan, in ECW, WCW, and then getting into the WWF. That this, I would say, is number 2. Like every book I have is in order. This right here is number 2. Number 1 will actually shock everybody, but this right here is a must-have wrestling biography if you are a wrestling enthusiast or just a wrestling fan itself. Get this book if you can. Have you? I know you haven't done much reading, but have you at least read this one?
I don't read.
Oh, good night, Irene. I should throw this book at you. It's a pretty thick book too.
Yeah, what is that like? Got to be at least 500 pages.
It is. If you want to, hang on. 508 to be exact.
See, I don't read, but I could tell how many pages are in a book.
But this one, his second book, was pretty close. It was 479. It's pretty close. That was a pretty close for a second one. Now, my favorite one, I'm probably going to get some, really? Bret Hart's book. This right here, Hitman, was another book that I was able to read from front to back without any issues at all. I thought about reading it again. But when I was a kid, I seen it as a kid back in high school, and I seen his artwork in the cover photo of it right there. And I was like, oh, I didn't know he drew content characters. And that's what kind of got me into that. Bret Hart's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I know a lot of people's going, really, Bret Hart? Yeah, Bret Hart. He's the excellence of execution. He is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. Even though I think Owen's just a little bit like above that notch. But what's your thoughts on the Hitman?
Yeah, for his time and for current day, he is definitely one of the best to do it, especially the way he dealt with certain circumstances. I'm pretty sure you can guess what I'm hinting with. Montreal.
I thought you was talking about Goldberg.
I mean, yeah, the Goldberg incident, he dealt with that pretty good considering he got legitimately booted in the head. There's no denying that was a stiff work.
But I don't think it was just the boot. It's where he did the figure 4 to the post. When he leaned back, it hit his freaking head. And I think that with the combination of that stiff kick, that's what did it.
I mean, regardless of whether it was with William Regal or whether it was with Bret Hart or whoever it was, I think we can just guarantee that Goldberg can't wrestle.
I'm pleading the fifth because I don't want Goldberg to fight me. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and be a good lad and not worry about it.
This is true.
But, yeah, that's really if you guys want to go in depth on it, I can go, I'll probably do an individual episode of each book. I can probably do at least a good 30 minutes each on these books, but I might do that later on. But those are my top 5. People was asking me about that. I figured I'd have you on here for a little bit to kind of talk about professional wrestling as well. So what was your, have you read any wrestling books at all? Or studied any wrestler? Like, okay, let me put it to you this way: who have you studied the most in your career?
See, I've studied quite a lot of Eddie Guerrero because that's kind of where I get like part of my character from, just the lie, cheat, and steal part of it. And William Regal, I've studied quite a lot of him for the technical aspect. Bret Hart as well. Like pretty much any guy that does decent character work and technical stuff is the ones that I pay more attention to when I'm doing like match research. So I'll just sit there for like 20, 30 minutes, watch a couple of matches, pick up a few bits and try and use it in my training.
Now, if you could pick out of any of those books I just mentioned, who would you pick?
Eddie. Hands down, Eddie.
Eddie's is a really good book. I would, like any Guerrero family fan, definitely check that out. Connor's a student of technicality. Yeah. No, I'll be nice today.
Come on, Joe. Be nice.
No, I'm good. I'll be nice. I'll be nice. But yeah, man, it was these books. There's ones I have finished front to back. I still have several more I need to read. But those are, I guess you can say, my top 7. But the top 5 is what I've mentioned later. Now, the Arn Anderson book, the reason it's so low on the totem pole was because it's too short for me. It was way too short. There could have been a lot more to that freaking book. But yeah, as you can see, folks, I am boring Connor Clarkson, and I'm probably boring the crap out of you. So, Connor, what's wrong with your hand? What did you do this time?
Right. I kind of screwed up massively, so I've sprained the wrist, hence the reason why we've got the wrist support on. I am fully aware that the tape does not match the wrist. It's not the fact that I'm British and we're apparently colourblind. We don't need to start that conversation, Joe.
What? Are you done talking?
I guarantee if I was talking about a pint of Guinness, he'd wake up and...
There you go. James Mattingly said you should study Nigel McGuinness.
This is true.
Nigel McGuinness is underrated, I think, as a wrestler and as a commentator. Do you remember his name in TNA?
You're putting me on the spot here, brother.
Yes, I am.
I don't watch that much TNA.
Well, I mean, I ain't gonna judge you, pal, but I think it was like what was it, Desmond Wolf or something like that?
Hang on, we'll Google it.
I knew last name was Wolf. I was like, that's Nigel McGuinness. Why didn't they just stick with Nigel McGuinness? Desmond Wolf. That's what it was. Desmond Wolf. Yes. I was like, why did they just repackage Nigel McGuinness? This ain't WWE. But he comes to WWE and it's like Nigel McGuinness. Oh, well, crap. Okay, cool. Now I think he's working with AEW, right?
I think so, yeah, because I think isn't he doing some bits for Ring of Honor?
I think he is. See, here, you're going to get me on a freaking Ring of Honor rant here in just a moment. I'm sick of how they're treating Ring of Honor. I mean, come on. You had freaking
I have my own opinions on the business aspect of that.
Well, I mean, hell, look at this. Look what they did to poor Mark Briscoe. He's their champion, right? The Ring of Honor champion.
Yep.
And they had him in the TBS tournament. Title tournament. Why?
Do we have to explain who's running the entire thing and what he's known for? If we put 2 and 2 together, we can pretty much figure out why anything involved with AEW is in shite.
You mean Mr. Colombian Bam Bam himself?
Yes.
Oh, man. Poor Tony. Never mind. Shut up.
If there was an award for that, he'd win it every single time, hands down.
Nah. Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to treat, I've probably been on this rant too many times, but I'm going to keep saying it. It was kind of brought up. If they would have treated Ring of Honor with the respect that it deserves, I mean, I said this on an episode I recorded with Mike D just the other day. If they were smart, they wouldn't have done that third AEW show. They would have given that spot to Ring of Honor and had Punk run Ring of Honor and just left him alone.
I mean,
that's what I would have done. Common sense, that's what I would have done.
But why is Ring of Honor feeling like AEW's version of NXT?
I guess that's how they're trying to treat it, but I don't even think it's treated like NXT. It's just with people, well, we don't know what to do with them, just send them to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that's pretty much what WWE's been doing with NXT at the minute.
No, hang on now. Hang on. No. Ring of NXT.
I mean, we've had some good moments for NXT.
NXT is on fire, dude. What are you talking about?
I mean, I don't think it's no longer called NXT.
Yes, it is.
I think they're now trying to switch it into NXTNA.
Let's talk about that merger. Let's talk about the NXT merger. I mean, this whole thing with NXT and TNA, I think people want to talk about the Forbidden Door. I think that's one big thing, especially for WWE, because for the longest time, forever, honestly, under the McMahon era, we did not get anything like this, hardly at all. But
Exactly.
now we're starting to see the Paul Levesque era. He's just like, okay, well, maybe if we can strike out a good deal, we can try to do something. I
I
don't know
mean,
about NXT being on fire. I mean, it's been better than what it not better than what it was. It's been better than what it has been the
NXT's
past
been
couple of
better
years.
since TNA's been with it. I'll say
Yeah.
that much.
The whole 3 weeks.
But
Oh,
yeah.
good night, Irene. That is tonight. Battlegrounds is tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, it's Sunday.
Yeah, that's why I did it early. I was like, why am I doing this so early? Oh yeah, Battlegrounds tonight. I was going to watch it.
Or is it the fact that I can barely stay up past midnight at this point?
A little bit of both. But
Look, here's the thing. You always moan at me for pulling crazy all-nighters. Now that I'm actually sleeping, you're like,
well, because never mind. We're not getting into personal problems today. I'm not your therapist, nor do I want to be your therapist. Let's continue talking about wrestling.
My therapist.
Yeah, let's continue talking about wrestling here. You know, what do you think is going to happen with the whole TNA NXT / WWE merger? Do you think anything special is going to happen aside from Jordan Grace?
See, I want to see Joe Hendry make an appearance. Now, hear me out, right? Everyone shouts, I believe in Joe Hendry, yeah? Right? Yep.
You're
Why,
welcome.
Joe? Why?
You're welcome. You're welcome.
But no, LA Knight, all the and all the let me talk to you, right? You put Joe Hendry with LA Knight in a match, the crowd's on fire.
Do you know who LA Knight was before LA Knight?
He was in TNA as the dummy. Yeah, I remember that.
Do you remember the name?
I thought he was still under LA Knight.
Eli Drake.
So that's where the LA Knight bit comes from then.
Exactly.
I should have got that.
Well, you know, you're not the brightest tool in the shed. Plus, I mean, you're from across the pond, so it's okay, buddy. Good for you, buddy.
The boss is going to be sitting here crying with laughter after you just said that.
He probably is. Good for you, buddy. We're proud of you. Many of you don't know, poor Connor here likes to go on random tangents. And when you get him off on a random tangent, you can't understand a freaking word he says. So we have just finally decided when he goes on those tangents, after we think he gets done speaking, we just say, good for you, buddy. That's great. We're happy for you.
Now you need subtitles for StreamYard, and then people will understand what I'm saying.
Oh, good night, Irene. Let's see. James Riley said, I don't think anything is going to happen with NXT and TNA. Something is going to screw up the deal. Probably. Probably something is going to screw up the deal. I mean, freaking TNA fired Scott D'Amore. Why would you fire Scott D'Amore? Why? Explain. No, am I getting... Diamond, quit it! He's doing it again. Not again. Oh, well. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, yes.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay, so we'll just do it this way. But yeah, I mean, you can't see my ugly mug anymore, but that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
That's actually quite pleasing.
Well, I hate you, but I always have a backup plan. So, with everything that's going on with TNA, I mean, it's great that they brought back the TNA name. They screwed up with Scott D'Amore. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they screwed up with this deal with NXT. I hope not. From a fan's standpoint and business standpoint, I hope not. Technical issues are a pain in the... Yeah, I know I got to deal with Connor, but that's a whole other technical issue within itself. But
me and you will have words after, Joe. Remember, I'm the head of HR. I am above you.
You're head of what?
HR.
H. At least you're not trying to pronounce your T's this time. Oh wait, they're in the harbor. Anyways, but yeah, I hope it doesn't get screwed up. But another part of me is like, yeah, they probably are.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time that TNA screwed something up.
Bring back Jeff Jarrett. Oh God, why did I say that out loud?
That's the thing though. Bring him back.
Talks or Scott might be going to book Ring of. You know what, James? I hope so. If he does, they need to. God, you're gonna get me another Ring of Honor tangent.
Good
Leave
for you,
Ring of Honor. Shut up. Ring of Honor should be by itself. There, I said it. Leave it alone. Tony, don't come anywhere near it. Let Scott or somebody else run it. Leave it the hell alone.
Speaking of being on their own, just quickly, have you noticed that Ricochet's not extending his contract?
Yes, I heard.
Where's he going to end up?
Hopefully not AEW.
See, I kind of want to see him in TNA.
I do too. Has he ever been in TNA?
I know he's done New Japan quite a bit.
He's done New Japan. He was Prince Puma, right? In Lucha Underground. Was that his name? I
believe so, yeah. I mean, Puma? New Japan in 2016, he had that brilliant 5-star match with Will Ospreay.
Yeah. Is that when was he a junior heavyweight champion? Or did he get to the finals of the Junior Cup?
Something like that. He got to the finals, yeah.
He got to the finals, and it was him and Ospreay, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thought so. But yeah, I would love to see him go to New Japan. Everybody's forgetting New Japan, but they shouldn't. I honestly think their reputation with AEW is not helping. Okay, no, he has not been in TNA. If he did, it was a one-off. Okay, thank you, James. So yeah, it would be nice to see him go to TNA. Maybe he can help out possibly the X division there. A lot of people want to see AJ Styles go back to TNA. I'm like, if it was like a reunion show or something like that, sure. But as far as going full-time back, no, sorry. AJ Styles needs to stay.
He's not going to go back anytime soon until the storyline with Cody's done.
Right. But with that being said, enough of us talking about tangents in wrestling. Since I just found out Battlegrounds is tonight, I'm probably may cut this short here in a couple of minutes. So, Connor, what do you have going on?
Trying to repair this. I originally thought, I don't know whether you was paying attention to any of our chats, but
if you're talking, probably not.
Grady, why did we have to bring him along?
Because I'm smart and you're not. Hey, Connor. Yes. When's Into the Barricade going to come back?
I believe we're trying to make some sort of arrangement for the end of this month, hopefully.
If not in this month, next month.
Well, that is what happens if you run out of time on 1 month. It carries on to the next month, Joe. It's called a calendar.
All right, goodbye. All right, that was enough for Connor Clarkson, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I don't have him on the show hardly. But, with that being said, what we have going on here at the Joe Monroe Show, don't forget Wednesday night, we are going to have a brand new trivia night. So all you wrestling fanatics, wrestling historians, and just wrestling fans in general, come join us. We got prizes available for everybody. And Friday, we have a new episode of the No Sale Roundtable where myself and a few other podcasters want to go over the best pay-per-view of all time in our minds and the worst pay-per-view of all time in our minds. And we spoke about TNA earlier. I'll give you a hint. A TNA pay-per-view in my mind is one of the worst. But with that being said, folks, I want to say thank you all for your love and support. You all have a great rest of your night. Enjoy Battlegrounds if you're watching. And always, always, always support the crazy sport of professional wrestling. We are out. Go ahead and roll the outro, Dave.
You've been listening to the Joe Monroe Show with Joe Monroe. Don't forget to like and subscribe.